It was a major source, a major source. And I talked to him afterwards, and he said, "Well, hey, they're not guaranteeing any money. They're not going to guarantee that, and that's the biggest thing. It's the monetary value, what they could give them." And they were not opposed to giving 4 first rounders. He's that type of talent.
Got a Football Monday cooking here on Birds 365 with McMullen and McDonald. We add a third member of our JAKIB Media YouTube team. He's looking spry this morning. Sometimes I wonder if I can keep him up late enough to join me on WIP. We got to wake him up early enough to be on Birds 365. He looks like he's ready to rock, Mr. Barrett Brooks. How you think, Big B?
I'm good. I'm ready to rock, but are the Eagles ready to rock? That's what I wanted. I'm concerned. I'm still concerned. So we'll see. We'll see.
Are the Eagles ready to rock, though, Barrett? Because, and we do want to get to your big show announcement, but before that, I want to tease it a little bit. Today is the first day. I don't think a lot of people realize it because WrestleMania was yesterday, but today is the first day where teams with new coaches can start their off-season work.
Mm-hmm.
So the Miami Dolphins, I think the Bears are going in today. The Eagles announced their off-season schedule a couple days ago in the entire NFL. They're not even coming in until April 25th. April 25th, 3 weeks after these teams. Now, they can't. They don't have a new coach, Nick Sirianni second. So they would have had to wait 2 weeks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look around the league, Barrett, there's only one team coming in later than the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC champions. There's only one team along with the Eagles, and that's the Bengals, not having a mandatory minicamp. What is going on?
Why not have a mandatory minicamp? That's just why start the year out like that? You're starting off number one. You wasn't very aggressive in free agency. Then you're not having you're waiting a week. That's what football is all about: preparing yourself, getting yourself prepared before everybody else. That's why when I was playing, I would get up at 2:00 in the morning and go run 2 or 3 miles just so I could stay above, everybody else, because I knew nobody in my hemisphere was working out at that time. It's the little things that you do to prepare you for the season. People think you go into a game and that's where you win the game. No, you win the game during practice. You win the game in the off season when you did the little things to get you ready and prepared for the season. So to me, I just don't understand, because you're still a young team. You're still a young coaching staff. Man, they still don't know who or what the culture is there. Like it or not, Howie's culture is implemented, but Nick is still trying to figure out who he is. He didn't figure out until halfway through the season that he's a run team. So for him to think, or this organization to think that they're, the gold standard still applies for him right now, I can't see it. And, they're going to suffer for this. They have to make sure that they do a little more than everybody else in order to stay competitive. That's why the Patriots stay so competitive. They were able to do a little more than everybody else. Now, they cheated, but still, though, they were doing whatever it took to win. And, that's the organization that, optimize and maximize every time and every, second they could use to become better. The Eagles need to take an example of their work ethic, not necessarily morally of cheating, but the work ethic that they have.
Here's why it bothered me. I understood what the Eagles did last year as far as making the decision to not have a mandatory minicamp. The coach wanted to win over the players. He's a new coach. None of the players knew him.
Right.
They're changing from a Super Bowl winning coach to Doug Peterson to Nick. Nick who? Who's this guy? Who did he work for before? Nobody had any bloody idea who Nick Sirianni was. And he wanted to win the room before ever taking over the room. Which was a pretty smart play. I think he did. And I don't think the fact that they made it non-mandatory ended up hurting him at all. So I give him credit for it.
It did hurt him.
What's the explanation this year? Does he have to win the room over again?
Well,
that they're
that's the
going to
problem.
make it less mandatory and or less days, that the Eagles need less practice than some other team? Is it because Nick doesn't have control of the room yet, Barrett?
It did hurt him. That's why those guys weren't as far in advance as other teams. It did hurt him. You need all the time you can around your guys. Now, I don't think he's trying to win the team because he's already won the team. The team loves him. They'll go out and battle for him. So I think that's not it. He's got the veteran players in place in which they could be like, all right, let's go to work. But to not take advantage of all the time they can, it's a mistake. You got to take advantage of this time. You only get a little bit of time at training camp anyways. It's only like 3.5 weeks. When I played, we had camp. Our camp started at 6 weeks. And then the veterans came in 4 or 5 days later. You only have 3.5 weeks to have camp, to get football plays implemented into the offense, the defense, special teams. They're not built like that. They don't have the solid foundation that other teams that are successful have. And why are they taking advantage of it and trying to get that solid foundation? It just doesn't make sense to me. He's already won the room. The team loves him. I think it's a mistake, personally, that they're not taking advantage of all the time that they can. I mean, to me, that's what winning programs do. Here I am. I won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, and the very next year we still optimize everything, and we're out there practicing. When everybody else practices, we took advantage of the time. They don't do that, so I don't know. I think it's going to hurt them in the long run because you don't know what you could have helped the kid do or helped the guy, get better at if you'd started earlier. You just don't know now, so they'll never know. It just doesn't make sense. And make it mandatory when you have to make it mandatory. Make guys come in. They don't have the autonomy to say, all right, well, I don't think this guy's going to come in. No, you make them come in and make them play, man. I mean, it's what the NFL is. That's why they have mandatory mini camps. Everybody understands it. Everybody knows it. Come on in, practice together. Get guys together.
There's 30. So,
right.
And by the way, so I asked him, I said, I looked at the list, Barrett, and I said, well, there's 2 teams that don't have mandatory minicamps. Is this a mistake? So I asked the Eagles, and it's not a mistake. And they gave me an answer. And the answer is prioritizing player health and performance. So, to me, this is a Dr. Arshdanota decision, who was the Eagles' chief medical officer. Now, I'm going to ask you, Barrett, because of what you just said, in your thought process as a former NFL player in your Super Bowl ring with the Steelers. People wish you won it with the Eagles, but it was with the Steelers.
I tried.
You don't get as much time to prepare these days. Training camp is 3 weeks. So are the Eagles ahead of the curve? Are we being unfair and saying, well, you can't prepare like you're used to be able to prepare anyway, so you might as well get to the finish line, which is week 1, as healthy as humanly possible? Is that a fair spin?
No, because I guess I'm just old school, because I feel as though you need to harden your body in order to, know what you can go through, know what you can't go through during camp. You need to know the difference between an injury and just having sore muscles or being hurt. That's why this team has a lot of soft injuries, soft tissue injuries, because they don't push their body to the maximum. You have to push your body in order to see, because you can't predict when a player is going to get hurt. Nobody can do that. A player can get hurt. You can be in the best shape of your life and still have the opportunity and get hurt. You cannot practice, go out there the first day of practice and get hurt. I mean, they can't predict how a player or if a player is going to get hurt. So you should maximize that time in order to maybe push a player to get past, what they think they can do, what they can't do. I talk to Seth all the time, and we made it a point to make sure that we could push our bodies past what we think we could, but you don't know that you can push your body past if you don't try to. And that's a problem to me, because you got to harden your body for camp. You have to harden your body for OTAs. Get your body used to being out there running. You can run all day out there. You can do all the drills you want to when you're by yourself, but you still don't have that, pushing a guy, bumping against a guy, coming out of a break, having somebody pushing you, and the contact that comes with being in camp. Those are all things you can, that happen when you're in camp. So that's how you get your body to a point that is better and able to go out there and play through a season.
John, let me answer your question as well, because I think we have some evidence of where the Eagles and how they handle workouts in the Nick Sirianni era from last year. And oh, by the way, last year, I believe my partner, John McMullen, lost money because he's paid an hourly wage for Sports Illustrated Philly Voice and here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. And Nick Sirianni used to run practice for about 20 minutes. So John would be told, sorry, you don't get your full day salary because we don't work quite as hard as other people.
Thank God it's not hourly, Jody. Thank God.
Oh, it isn't? I thought you lost money. That's why I thought you were complaining as much as you do. No, here's the way I look at it. Were the Eagles that much less injured last year than anybody else? Since they went down the road of less is more.
It was better. It was better than it was the previous 3 or 4 years.
I'm not worried about the previous 3 or 4 years. I'm comparing them to the other 31 teams in the National Football League. Were they that much more healthy than it? Yeah, sure. There were a couple of teams that were got a little lucky, and luck is involved in injuries. Don't kid yourself. That you would say were less, and there were some that absolutely were more. They're middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Statistically, you think you can say, "Ooh, good idea not to practice because we were more healthy than the other teams in the National Football League." I can't say that.
No, I mean you're right. Even look at Chip Kelly's era. They maximized all the plays and time they could get all the time, and I think they were right along the same number of injuries, or even might be a little less. And they ran 1,000 plays during practice, 1,000 plays during games. It has it has everything to do with luck. That's all it is, luck. And I just feel as though you could put more and implement more and have a player experience more when you're out there on the practice field, as opposed to trying to buddy up with them, and not practice. You can get more from a player if he's out there and learning. Not just with the coaches, but players with players. You learn certain things from players. Imagine how much stuff that you can learn from, that Dickerson can learn from. A guy like Kelsey being out there and going through reps, seeing blitzes, seeing how they're trying to take advantage of him, as opposed to, sitting back or doing it in a Zoom. The COVID restrictions are off. Give these guys an opportunity to gel more together and being around each other. It's not just practice that you're missing out on. It's being in that locker room, the cohesiveness of having guys with you during that time period there. That's what it's all about. It's not necessarily even going out there and being on the field. It has a lot to do with it, because you can learn things, you see things, and build that muscle memory. But it's more so just the team being together, that team building that you're missing when you're not inside the building. Oh, time to wake up, I guess.
It's a little late.
Hold on. Where do I recognize that tune from?
That's just a
regular phone call. Yeah,
that's a typical iPhone.
Is it?
Ringtone?
I got an iPhone. My phone doesn't ring like that.
my iPhone ringtone is
that's like the basic. That when you take it out, this is
all right. It cracks people up every time they hear it. It goes over well. I do want to. So I was just looking it up when Barrett was talking. I'll give credit to @ManGamesLostNFL. As you might imagine, the teams that were healthiest won the most games, and the Eagles were among that as a playoff team. Buffalo was the healthiest, and obviously they had a significant run. Tampa was very healthy. They had a significant run. The Rams were healthy, and obviously they did. Kansas City. The Eagles were in that category. Fewer than 150 man games lost, as opposed to the New York Giants, who were the worst at over 350.
Jesus, wow.
So, that's where they're getting this. They're looking back to last year and saying, remember, this will be the third straight year, Barrett, that they haven't had a minicamp. The first year, not their fault, pandemic. Second year, as Jody pointed out, Nick Sirianni was trying to get people in for voluntary work. This year, it's an organizational decision. And they looked at last year and said, that worked pretty well. Let's just continue on. Man, do they think, though? I'm with you. It's more luck than anything else.
Yes,
I mean, sometimes you now there are things you can do. You can handle soft tissue injuries better to limit time. And all of that is, where the expertise of the medical people have to come in. But are the Eagles a little too haughty thinking they can control things they can't control? That's what every NFL coach I've ever talked to says to me. So I know you've heard it a million times, Barrett. Control what you can control.
Yep. You can control what you can control. And then that's exactly what they're trying to do. You can't think that you can keep an injury from happening just by keeping guys. If you keep the guys not there outside the building, then where's that bond that they build when they're inside the building, going through things, being around each other?
And by the way, real quick, Barrett, aren't they more likely to get hurt outside the building? You don't know what they're doing, even when they're working out. You don't know where they're doing, where they're working out, what they're working out. They're not on your program. Isn't it more likely they get injured outside the building?
Yeah, I mean, going to run hills, running on fields with potholes in it. You can at least you can govern where they are and how they're working out. I mean, I was stupid back in the day. I used to go work out. I used to go play basketball. You know what I'm saying? Rough house basketball out in the park. You know what I'm saying? With guys I grew up with. I could have turned an ankle, ripped the knee or whatever, playing basketball. You know what I mean? That's what I did. Although we're gonna go play basketball, I think JAKIB
next weekend.
Yeah, we're having a basketball on Sunday, next Sunday, as a matter of fact. I'm playing a little bit. I'm playing center. Well, I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna get up the field. Get up the court 2 or 3 times. Make it look good. But I'm all in it with JAKIB Media. I'm gonna play, man. But
good to hear. I won't be, because you could fall on me and I could break a hip. So you can count me out of that basketball game. I'm going nowhere near Barrett Brooks. I do got to get up in Barrett Brooks' grill though here. And BB, we love you.
Yep.
You were pretty outspoken about the fact that Deshaun Watson was going to end up here in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
That did not happen. Either tell us what gave you such strength of your conviction that it could happen. If you want to throw your source under the bus, feel free to do so here. But you need to give us some insight here as to why you were as staunch as you were that Deshaun Watson was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle.
It was a major source, a major source. And, I talked to him afterwards, and he said, well, they're not guaranteeing money. They're not going to guarantee that, and that's the biggest thing. It's the monetary value, what they could give them. And they were not opposed to giving, 4 first rounders. He's that type of talent. But I think they just shied away from the money factor. Money, to guarantee that much money. I mean, they're actually trying to change rules that if you guarantee money like that, you got to put it in the escrow.
Oh, yeah.
You do. That's not
rule's already in place.
The Browns got to put all that money in escrow.
So that's major. That's huge. From a business standpoint, that's money that's not making money. So, Jeffrey is not doing that. Mr. Lurie is not stupid. He won't do that. But I'm just, at the end of the day, it would be wrong of Howie to not take advantage of that situation. And he didn't take advantage of the situation because he allowed him to walk. But this is just one of many times in which I thought the Eagles were going to jump out there. I mean, Devontae Parker. I mean, I heard what you said, what you guys were talking about with Devontae Parker. We're talking about a guy to come in. He'll be an instant number 1 here. Take a little pressure off Smith. Help out this passing game, because at the end of the day, you have to pass the ball to win. They found a little niche, and defensive coordinators get paid millions of dollars to stop niche type of offenses. But I think that's an offense that could be very good in the NFL if they find a passing game to go with it. And they just don't have enough weapons, experienced weapons out there on the outside to be consistently a passing team. I mean, and that's basically what they want to be anyways. But at least if you have another wide receiver out there, a more experienced one that could help the quarterback out. I mean, it's just a little better. To think that we're going to go out there and draft the number one receiver in the draft is not likely. The draft is just like the lottery. You know what I mean? You hope you hit, but 9 times out of 10, well, I'll say 3 times out of 10, you'll get a starter to come in and play day one in the first round. 3 times out of 10, and that's kind of what the average is. That you'll get a good player, perennial Pro Bowler, or whatever. A lot of times they guess and they guess wrong. Look at Wilson up with the Jets. They've been guessing wrong. A lot of teams guess wrong, but if you go out there and get guaranteed guys that've been out there before that can play, then you have to worry about that. That's just one more facet that you can help this young quarterback out. They are not helping Jalen right now. They're saying that's their guy and that they're going forward and they love Jalen. Well, help Jalen out. They're not helping Jalen. So to me, that's just all hogwash. You're not helping him. That's why he has, the worst weapons in the NFL right now. And not to downplay our guys, but they're just not the guys I see on other teams. They're not the – you can take those guys and go in and play a game. You think that, just like we fear going up and playing against a Bengals team with those weapons, nobody fears our weapons. So they're going to put 8 guys in the box to stop the run because they know they don't have the weapons outside to really go out there and be a threat.
Barrett, you mentioned an interesting thing when it came to Jeffrey there. He wasn't going to go there. He wasn't going to do this. He wasn't going to do that. I kind of get that same framework at receiver when people talk about free agency, talent acquisition season, as Howie calls it, is not over. He's 100% right. There's already talk about A.J. Brown getting traded from Tennessee. The DK Metcalf stuff has been out there for a while. But they're going to have to give them an extension if they were to make that trade. And that extension is going to be over $20 million a year for a wide receiver. I don't know. I have a hard time imagining the Eagles doing that. But I look around the league, Deshaun Watson, different position, quarterback. But, a cornerback in Miami just got guaranteed money.
Yep.
The first time ever fully guaranteed contract for a positional player, Xavier Howard in Miami. Is Jeffrey Lurie at some point going to go? I remember last year, Barrett, and I was one of them, and Jody likes that, and I'll let him take the victory lap again. I said, there's no way they're taking that dead money on. No way. The Eagles
the same thing.
The Eagles set the precedent, and now everybody's doing it. Atlanta, we'll take on that dead money. We'll raise you $8 million with Matt Ryan. When people set the precedent, you either got to go with it or you got to get out of the way. So when does Jeffrey Lurie say, all right, this is what they're getting paid. This is what I got to pay them.
Well, I mean, just like you said, it's either go out there and do what the Joneses do, or you're just going to fall behind. And that's exactly what's happening. I would have never thought that we would have quarterbacks making $50 million a year. I'm like, this isn't baseball, but what's going on? The last 3 quarterbacks are making over $50 million a year. So, I mean, in order to compete with Joneses, you have to do what the Joneses do. So you can't be cheap anymore. This is not, Moneyball. It's not like baseball where you can go out there with a roster of guys, cheap guys. You have to pay to play. And in order to get better as a team, you got to go out there and get guys on your team that can go out there and give you positive outcomes. We don't have a lot of guys that can give us positive outcomes. J-Jaw is not a guy that can give me, 100 yards or 80 yards consistently.
80. Maybe 80 in the season.
Right.
Come on.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Jalen Rager's not going to give me 80. And that's a shame that we have 2 guys that just are not offensive, and they get paid to play wide receiver. They get paid to catch, and all they do are good blockers or not even good returners. So in order to get better as an organization, you got to bring in better people because we're not doing it in the draft. It's not working in the draft. We had 2 drafts we have entire drafts within the last five years that nobody's on the team from. How is that possible? That an entire draft, none of them are on the team. That's crazy. I don't understand it.
It speaks to Howie's overall draft acumen and selecting players. He's very good at moving around, but sometimes actually selecting the talent, which is the most important thing, is a little bit off. And John, I get your point about will Jeff Lurie stay up with the Joneses and be willing to set new boundaries on what he pay or won't pay? That just goes to hammer home the point of what they missed out on this weekend. Another MacMan prediction: Devonta Parker will not get extra money because he's going to the Patriots. They may redo the deal just so they can add extended.
Yeah, he's not the type of
never
player
be
I'm
seen.
talking about. No,
he's not getting any more money.
I'm talking about the AJ Browns, the DK
right,
Metcalf.
but I'm.
What about Jarvis Landry? Jarvis is saying he wants $20 million.
Yeah, he's not.
Well, he's not
As a
getting that.
He's not getting that
God
from
bless
anybody,
him.
not Jeff
Yeah.
Lurie or anybody else in the league.
Shoot
Good
your
luck with
shot,
that. But
Jarvis.
no, I'm going
Yeah.
back to Devontae Parker because you're right, John. There are receivers that the Eagles probably won't get because they won't want to jump up to the head of the line and be the ones that paid the new bar in the National Football League. You didn't have to do that with Parker. He's got
Right,
2
yeah.
years to go at very reasonable money. And what's he going to do? Hold out? Not show up?
No,
Say, I got to
he
be a
doesn't have that
$20
kind of-
wide receiver.
But
He
he's
wasn't
not-
going to do that.
But he's not that type of player. That's what I'm saying. But look, on this team, he's a huge upgrade. On
Yeah.
this team, he's a 29-year-old receiver with significant injury history, making $5.5 million, who's had 1,000-yard season. Now, for this team who can't find a receiver to save their lives, that's a big upgrade. For
Well,
other
yeah.
teams, that they do that in their sleep. They find guys who can get that kind of production. It's amazing in the modern NFL era, and we talk about the final 2 years of the Doug Peterson era as well, where they didn't have a 600-yard receiver, not a 600-yard receiver in this era. And people go Devontae Smith, and I tell you this all the time, Jody, you know this, 916 yards. That's bad.
Right.
It's a franchise record. Jamar Chase is getting over 1,500. Justin Jefferson's getting over 1,400. 916 for a kid the talent of Devontae Smith, not acceptable. So for this team, Devontae Parker's a huge upgrade. I'm not putting him in the conversation with AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, never mind Tyreek Hill, players like that. But yeah, for the Eagles, they got to do something. They got to do something to help Jalen Hurts.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
Let me just try and hammer my point home one more time, and maybe I'm doing a bad job of doing that. You're saying they refuse to shop at Bloomingdale's. You want the creme de la creme, you got to go to Bloomingdale's, okay? I'm just asking them to shop at Target. Target is Devontae Parker, okay? I'm not talking about the dollar store, Zach Pascal.
Well,
I just want to log in at Target. I know they're not going to do Bloomingdale's. I want to stay out of the dollar store. Let's go to Target and get Devontae Parker, okay?
Well,
they didn't even do that. They had the chance to do that.
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Zach Pascal's the dollar store.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you very much.
They think Devontae Parker they want Devontae Parker at dollar store prices. They don't even want to go to Target.
Right, and that's
they
the
don't even
problem.
want to go to
That's
Target.
what I'm bitching about. Thank you very much, John McMullen.
But no, nobody wants to sign these 1-year deals. The Eagles think that they can sign everybody with a 1-year deal, a prove-it deal. Now they've rewarded guys, after they signed, they with contracts after. Howie's a man of his word. He'll give you a contract afterwards, but when you give him a prove-it deal. But nobody wants to sign a 1-year prove-it deal, man. And that's what they're asking guys to do. They did it all this year. I mean, you look at it. The linebacker from Camden, he's the only guy that gave him like a real deal. Everybody else is all right. You sign a 1-year deal, you come prove that you belong here, and we'll sign you. Nobody wants to do that. They want to get paid up front. But he's been able to do that with the Alshon Jeffries, the Timmy Jernigans, guys like that. Even Derek Barnett. Fletcher Cox, they gave them all 1-year deals. You can't do that. You gave Nelson last year a 1-year deal. How are they giving all these 1-year deals? Harris got a 1-year deal, safety 1-year deal. You can't make a living out of doing 1-year deals. You just can't do it.
Derek Barnett, by the way, was a Target buy, and he should have been a dollar store buy. But I'm sorry, obligatory shot at Derek Barnett.
All right.
Sorry, I'm not.
All right, we got 2 weeks from today. I said WrestleMania was the biggest event of the month, but I was wrong because, and I'm not talking about the NFL draft. I'm talking about April 18th, right here on the JAKIB Media Network. It's going to be Barrett Brooks, Super Bowl champion Barrett Brooks. It's going to be the legendary Derek Gunn, and I'm going to say legendary Rob Ellis as well. Barrett Brooks, what a heavyweight trio that is. D.
Bro,
Gunn, Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis.
Jacob Media has brought something together that probably shouldn't be brought together. I'm just gonna let you guys know. Me with Derek Gunn and Rob Ellis. I worked with both guys at NBC, and it was some bad football going on back in those days, man. But these guys pulled me through it. They lifted me up, and they made me a pretty good sportscaster. I think of myself as a pretty good sportscaster. But yes, I got two guys that are, the heavyweights in the industry. I mean, look at, Derek Gunn. He helped, found NBC's regional network. The first regional network was here at NBC. Was right there with Derek Gunn. He pulled the reins in Eagles football, making a national platform by him breaking stories. And then we got Rob Ellis, the historian. This guy knows everything, and he's one of the best point guards of passing things off in shows. This is going to be a great show because they're going to allow me. They're going to throw me some alley-oops, and I'll be able to dunk it. But most of all, these guys just like to make fun of each other, man. We like to, rag on each other, man. That's what's going to make this show a great show. There's a lot of respect, between the three of us. But one thing for sure, one thing for certain, we will make sure it's going to be enjoyable content. So I can't wait, man. I really can't wait.
All right, brother, I need you to do something for me. I need to test something out here. Can you go like this? Take your two thumbs and put them right behind your ears.
Behind my ears?
Yeah, go like
I can
this.
do that.
He's doing Rob Van Dam. What are you doing?
There you go. Because you haven't told us the name of the show. I'm thinking
we're still working on it.
I'm thinking RBD.
That's not bad.
Rob, Barrett, and Derek.
That's not bad.
Every day, all three of you come on and go like this. RBD. You will win over every wrestling fan on the planet. I guarantee you. McMullen gets it. My other wrestling fans out there watching get it. Barrett might not get it, but RBD. Every day, do it. It'll work.
If that's the case, I would call it From Out of Nowhere. That's
RKO.
what I would.
All right.
RKO,
I like
man.
that too.
From Out of Nowhere. That's what we're going to name the show. From Out of Nowhere. I love it.
All right. And that's going to be April 18th. Do we know? I've heard rumors. Do we know this is going to be 3 hours?
It's a 3-hour show from 12 to 3. And I get to talk from 12 to 3, man. Can you imagine that? With those two guys talking from 12 to 3, man. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a fun show, man. I can say whatever I want to say, and they get to go out and put all the forest fires that I put out there. You know what I'm saying? So you best believe it's going to be stuff that you shouldn't hear. And I just can't wait, man. I really can't wait. Can't wait.
Barrett, very much looking forward to it. We'll be watching 2 weeks from now, and you know that we're going to be calling on your expertise certainly before the draft. We're going to punch up again. Thanks for jumping in today, bud.
From Out of Nowhere. I'll be back.
RBD. That is Barrett Brooks here with us on Birds 365. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. We're coming back. Got a little bit more Eagle stuff to sink our teeth into, and then we're going to have a former Eagle player. It's former Eagle Player Day. We had one with Barrett Brooks. We got another one coming up in hour number 2 here on Birds 365.